who want to check it out later have something to watch. Um, anyway, like I said, first meeting in 2024. We've got let's see, February, March, April, and the beginning of May is Cocoa Fest. So we've got about 4 months, a little less than 4 months until it's time to all congregate in Chicago. Um, Eric, I know you said you'd gotten the treasurer's reports taken care of. I know we've been kind of holding off on that for a couple months. So I was thinking maybe it'd be time for you to take the floor.
Yeah, yeah, very excited because it's been like 6 months. I'll try and get these done quarterly from here on out. But yeah, we got a yearly report, so
Okay.
and everything's up to date. Um, so we'll start, I guess, here. In Do you guys have I shared my screen? Hold on,
No, not yet.
let me find the button.
Okay.
I'll just do the screen. There we
There you
go.
go.
All right, zoom in a little bit. So starting at the top, big items, $301 in PayPal at December 31st. 16,319 and 28 cents in the savings, 375.34 in the checking. Um, a couple people either owe us money or we owe them money. So this is not zero, which we need to get to zero. Um, Not sure what payments to deposit was. Might have to look at the register on that one.
Okay.
I thought I cleared that one out earlier, but I guess not. Um, yeah, and that's it. So we had 503 net profit for the year, and let's break that down. So our auction for the Cocoa Fest last year brought in $4,900, $2,100 for the meals that we not that we expensed, but that we brought in. So this is what we received. Uh, and then 530 in donations, 735 in membership dues, and 1553 for our vendors. We spent $100. I think that's on Discord, really. Uh, Cloud services, that's Zoom and a few other programs. I think this QuickBooks, things like that. Well, we bought insurance last year for this coming year, so that's reflected here. And so we're all insured and ready to go for Cocoa Fest. Um, I don't know what else is interesting here. Oh, our picnic came out to 299.19 and any other events. I don't think we had any other events. Um, oh, our venue is 8280 for the year, and that includes $1,000 deposit for this coming year. So the venue costs are creeping up. So we're gonna have to probably, I would recommend maybe raising prices to cover our raising venue costs. Oh, and interest was really good, $473 in interest income. I mean, that pretty much covered our profits for the year.
So does the venue rental, did that cost, that 8,200 includes $1,000 deposit for 2024? It
Yeah.
includes the cost for 2023. Does it also include the food charges for 2023? Because I thought the venue itself was like 5,300 or 5,500 or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, I think that included the food, which we recouped here. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
So,
oh, and then the thing I'm disappointed in, I'm off somewhere by 125. So my cash draw was off by 37, and then there's just a discrepancy in the books of around 75 in April that I can't really find. The PayPal, it's something to do with the PayPal account, but the PayPal report, like the April report, is fine. So I think it's just an accounting error. I just can't find it. I've been at it for like days.
So
Is
does that,
PayPal charging us for the use of it?
What's that?
Is PayPal charging us for the use of it?
No, and in fact, they give us a hefty discount on our service fees because we pay a charge for every transaction, and we get a huge discount for being a nonprofit. So if you look here, we were charged 42.44 by Square, and that's for like the day of Cocoa Fest, or the 3 days of Cocoa Fest. So compare that to PayPal 128 over the entire year and the 3 months leading up to it. I mean, this is half the price of what they would normally charge.
does Square offer discounts for nonprofits? I'm assuming not.
Nope, nope.
Hmm. Okay.
But I'm in talks with PayPal now, because I was trying to, fix all these accounting things. So I called them up and I said, hey, we want to use your POS, and so we got the paperwork on our account all straightened out. So now we should be approved, maybe already approved, to use the PayPal POS for payments at the show. So we'll get those reduced fees now from PayPal.
So does the reconciliation discrepancy, that $125, is that in our favor? Like we actually have $125 more in our treasury than we think we should
No,
have? Or does that mean that we
no,
have
it's on the
125
wrong
less?
side.
Okay.
It's on the wrong side. Yeah. So,
Okay.
um, yeah. That the 37 is the cash drawer. So that might have just been some expense or um, some charge that didn't, didn't get paid or something. But then there's the rest, and I'm not sure where that is. I know it's not missing money because there's no charge for that amount anywhere. It's just, yeah, it's on the books, but I wasn't able to track down the transaction. It might
Okay.
be a set of, 3 or 4 transactions, and I suspect that it's just duplicate transactions somewhere, because I
Okay.
noticed in some of the prior months there was like half a dozen duplicated PayPal transactions because of the way QuickBooks imports transactions. So I don't know. I spent like a day and a half on this, and it's like, how long do we have to spend to track it down? So I may come back to it, but I'd really, at the end of the day, I'm sure it's not an error on PayPal's end, and the money hasn't gone missing. I mean, there's no expense anywhere that accounts for it.
Okay. Any
Uh,
any other items to call out in the various reports?
yeah, I mean, we've got all kinds of good stuff here. Oh, this one's one of my favorites. So here we can see exactly how many auction items we had: 133, um, 6 donations, 46 memberships, 47 meals, and 37 tables that we sold last year. Actually, this might show a couple from this year because we opened registration a day before the end of the year. So whatever we collected in December is included here, but it was only 1 or 2.
Okay.
Um, oh, this is all the membership stuff. So, oh, yeah, and here's who we owe money to. So,
I'm on this list.
uh, yeah, yeah. So Jason owed us money. We forgot to collect from him before he left the show, and it took me this long to track it down. So I owe him a big apology. He's already, I think he might, I don't think he's paid it yet, but he's got the invoice. And then we owe you, Jim Brain. We owe you 170. I think it was for the computer. We bought a computer and you donated money or something. And
Okay.
this is what we owe you for that. So we
Okay.
should settle up on that. And that's it. I mean, lots of data in here. I recommend people play around, and if you find a problem in April, that would be very helpful. But yeah.
Okay. Anyone have questions over the treasurer's report? It looks like we're hovering. I think seems to me like over the last few years we've stayed in the mid to upper $16,000 yeah, kind of, I guess, area from a treasury perspective. Is that true? Seems to me like
Yeah,
it's steadily creeping up, maybe, but just by a little bit. I think like it was like 15.3 4 or 5 years ago, and then it was 15.6, and then it was 16.1, and so forth. So it seems to be like in the 16s, maybe it looks like in the upper 16s now.
yep, that's
Do-
exactly. We've drawn a modest profit every year, and that's where we've been.
Okay, got it.
That's good for a nonprofit, especially since it's not going negative.
Yeah, right,
Mhm.
right.
Well, and like I said, this interest income on our, because we have so much in savings over here, 16,000, our interest income is just like really high. I don't
Yeah,
know where that
almost
went.
500.
Yeah, so if we can get higher percentage rates somehow, that would be cool, but
What's our
or more
current
money in the bank.
what's our current interest rate on the savings?
That's a good question. Well, we have, oh, it's probably in our statement. We have a money market account, and I think it's only uh it's like an offer thing for the first year or two. So
Yeah.
the rate might go down, but I don't remember the details.
Well, I it just came up the other day. We had some cash that we needed to, just sitting in a um, checking account, and the, not obviously not getting it. Or actually, it was actually saving and savings, but it was getting like, 0.01% or some stupid number. And so um, and so it turns out there was some introductory 11-month or 13-month or whatever it is CDs that were doing 5%. And so since we don't, 4% is pretty good. Um, if this is going to expire, the 4%, and
Yeah,
it's
but
going to
that's
drop down.
annual. That's
Oh, yeah,
annual.
yeah, fair enough.
Divide that by 12, and put your cut for a monthly.
Fair, yeah, true, true. But 4% over the year. I mean, we were looking at. I mean, the CD that we ended up securing was like 5.25% APY, so it would be same kind of deal. I'm just thinking if we lose out on this 4% because it was some introductory offer and it's going to drop back down, I would like to know maybe at the next meeting, because if so, I think I would like if somebody could make a motion, or if we could at least consider as a club taking some of this money, like maybe 10 grand of it or something, and putting into a one of those, like a money market or a CD or something that's backed, that you're guaranteed that interest rate. That way we could keep that in interest kind of flowing into the group, have the money that's sitting there continue to make money for us, because we don't seem to be needing the principal. We don't seem to be needing to dip into more than maybe a couple $1,000s of our treasury on a regular basis to tackle, short-term payments and whatnot. So we could take a considerable chunk of it and put it into something that's got a good rate if we're going to lose out on this 4%. So it would be nice to know how long we'll keep that.
Sure, I'll call the bank and ask.
Okay. I saw you said the things. Can you show what we had beginning balance at the beginning of 2023? Do you happen to have that handy? I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Oh yeah, didn't make a year-over-year report.
Yeah, I
Well,
would
let's
like to
just
see
pull up
one, but
last year's report. Yeah.
If you don't have it, that's fine. It's
Uh,
just
I'm not
interesting
sure
to
which
know where
website.
we were at the end of last year versus, or yeah, the end of 2022 or the beginning of 23 versus the beginning of 24.
Oh, here it is. We probably maybe want the balance sheet. That's what we want. Yeah.
Okay, so we're up, or we were 16,995, so we're up about $200 year over year, 240 or so, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, well. Yeah, I don't have the other report now, but
So
yeah, so
I
you're
see
about
her
right.
was like 16,995, so
Yep.
okay. Um, Anybody have any questions or comments on it? Otherwise, I'm happy to entertain a motion to approve our current treasurer's report.
I offer a motion to approve.
Okay, John Mark moves. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second it.
That's Rich Bear, second. All those in favor?
I
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you could maybe for next month, if you could find out how long we get that 4% APY, and if we're not going to be able to keep it, long term, what other options Wintrust might be able to provide us to move back up. But right now, it seems like 5% is CDs, 11-month CDs or whatnot, are 5%, which is a good number. And we may want to consider that. And then the other one is, yeah, year over year would be good if you could do a year over year for next month, just so we can see some of the other things like Cocoa Fest expenses and stuff like that. I am trying to see here whether maybe I missed it, but it doesn't look like Brian has joined. Brian, are you on? Nope, does not
No,
look.
he's stuck in a weather and car rescue something or another. I
Okay,
pinged him on Discord and got a message off his phone.
okay, fair
He
enough.
said, I'm running late. It's snowing. Had to go help son with car, taking longer, that kind of thing. And that he did send some sort of message about that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll move on. I know we've got Grant and Randy on tonight, and so we'll move into our director updates. Obviously, Cocoa Fest update is top of mind. So, Grant.
Yep, so just let everybody know the registration has opened up, and within a week we have almost sold out of tables. As of this morning, when I last looked, we are down to only 5 tables left available to sell. So this year is definitely not the year to wait till the last minute to get tables, because I'm probably going to say we're probably going to be sold out probably at the end of next week at the rate we're going. And I can know a couple other people I've been having conversations with in email that are wanting to get those tables too. So I'm not looking for those to be around much longer. I'll be talking with the hotel tomorrow. Uh, they have offered to allow us to set up tables in the hallway, free of charge, except for the rental of the tables, of course. And then we might look at also getting one of those rooms across the hall again, where we had the presentations last year, to set up tables in there if we decide to do so. The only downside about setting up a tables in the room, in my opinion, is not much traffic is going to go through there, I don't think. So I think the hallway is a better opportunity for more traffic, as people are going to be walking by it more often than it is in that separate room. And plus, why pay another $250 for the rental of the room, if we can avoid it? So my thinking is, if we're just going to try to get those extra tables in the hallway, if we sell out of all those tables, which right now we're looking at about 13 to 14 tables there, then I'll probably look at getting the room across the where the old presentation room used to be. So
Now, just so I remember, because I I know we talked about a number of things. We're moving the presentations to the room that's down the hall this year because it's a
correct.
larger room and whatnot. Um, and then where is the auction item? Where are the auction items going to be placed this year?
So it'll be in the room we had the presentation in last year.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
The room that we had the presentations in last year.
Oh, okay. So the option that we have the option that we have is just one. There's one room that is next to the presentation room which is where the auction items were last year. That room is potentially available for tables if we
Correct.
need it or whatnot. And it's $250 for the weekend. Is that, or is it $250 a day?
Yeah, she's gonna let me know on tomorrow about that, but I'm thinking it's $250 for the weekend.
Okay, that's fair.
Is there any way we can get the auction items a little closer? That's
So the
all
only option
the way down
option we
the-
will have for that will be somebody will need to physically bring the auction item down to that room that we use as an office, which is only about 20 feet away from the presentation room where it's going to be. Hoping maybe the Wi-Fi will reach that far.
Well, maybe let's look at it a different way. Randy, if we can't move them closer, but we need to, we need to have good quality, feeds from there. Maybe you could let us know what, what.
So what I'm currently using is a higher grade wireless video,
Mhm,
but I don't think it'll go that far.
that's fine.
It'll go a decent level, but it's not going to go all the way through there. If you're talking about doing that, then you may be switching to where you have to have Wi-Fi in both locations and have an interaction between the two. And if I recall, I don't recall. I thought that their Wi-Fi isolated individual devices, and they couldn't communicate with each other over their network.
Well, I think we need, the reason I mention is because I believe we're going to need to come up with some alternative networking options. We had some issues. I know you had some issues last year streaming from the show, and we need to do. I think we should plan to have some additional bandwidth there for what you need. And then the other one is, like an internal network. I know John Mark's working to put a PBX together, and I know that there's a bunch of folks that want to have like a non-captive portal network capability so that we can do like the Ethernet cards that are being developed for the Coco. So I mean, probably should be getting on that. We got a little bit of time, but we should probably get on that. I'm just thinking if we put your requirements in the mix, then we'd be better suited to make sure that we've got what you need in order to make it work if we, if we can't get the stuff right next to each other.
Is the auction room too small to have the auction items in the auction room?
Well, the auction room would be the room where the presentations are, and I don't know. It's not that much bigger than the regular room, but we can get. I guess maybe that's the thing. Grant, maybe tomorrow you could, if you don't already. I'm trying to remember. Do we know? Do we have like a room calculation, like square footage of the various rooms?
Well, so that was something I looked at. So you're looking at dropping down the footage from about 30 people, from 50 people down to about 30 people. So you're going to lose about 20 people due to the tables being in there.
Oh, if you put
For seating.
if you put the auction tables in the auction
Right,
in the
exactly.
presentation room, that's fine. So
Exactly. The
I
only
mean,
other thing I was thinking about, we can maybe see if we can maybe get one of the hotel rooms across from the presentation room, for a night, just to maybe set up the camera and everything there for, for the auction time, and then,
So hold on, the presentation room is going to be smaller than it was last year?
no,
No.
it's bigger, but
Oh.
he's saying if he planned it out as if the presentation room just had the chairs in it, if so, that's 50 people. But if we put tables in there to hold the auction items, then that you can only put 30 people.
Oh.
So it doesn't make it's not good for us to put the tables in there because then we would end up being, we would have less seating available at all times.
Right, and plus
Maybe
people would like
a
to look at the
closer-
auction items too, while presentations are going on. So you want to keep those separately usually.
Is
You
there
put
any
the
other
auction
rooms that are
items on
closer?
wheels.
Good. I'm sorry, Randy.
I don't know what's available. Is there any other rooms that are closer to the?
That's what Grant said he's
Um,
going to check tomorrow and see. I think that's the
Yeah,
thing. These are
we might be-
good things for Grant to check since he's going to talk to the vendor tomorrow. See if there's another regular hotel room that we could just use to put the stuff in. Right? You could just kind of walk through a
Yeah.
regular hotel room and see how much
somebody can just walk
is.
it back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I also, just to counter all the contingencies, if you could send Grant and I an email on what kind of networking capability would be helpful if we need to keep the stuff in those rooms in the front while we do the auction in the rooms towards the back. We'll plan that into the networking, whatever, what we're trying to get from an additional networking capability.
Are we considering running our own Wi-Fi, running
Well,
multiple hotspots or something, or?
it may very well be. We may very well do. We haven't figured it out all yet. That's the reason I'm saying, what's the requirement that you would like, or what's the items that you would like, and then we'll, we'll work on that. The thing is we're not in conflict with any other needs for some of the material, some of the wired networking capability that VCF Midwest uses, and they often let us use some of their equipment because they like to help out. And so there's possibility that we could use some of the networking capability that they used last fall for VCF Midwest.
Oh, cool. I did not know they had anything available. Cool.
Yeah, they did a whole bunch of stuff. And I've talked to Michael and trying to think of the guy that does the video. But anyway, I don't want to promise anything, but they've been very generous, and they're not using that material for anything else during the time
that
frame
time
of the show.
period.
Well,
But
that's good because I know Eric and I were looking at maybe getting like a, 5G or something like that, and it was looking to be pretty expensive just to get that for the year.
yeah, well, and I mean, yeah, I don't want to solution it on the call. I'm just saying, if Randy, if you could send what you think would be helpful, then I can. I mean, forewarned is forearmed, right? So, is that right? Yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that we need, let's circulate that to the VCF folks, and maybe they can help.
A big part of the cost we were looking at was the equipment. So if anybody uses like a Verizon 5G router of some kind, if we could borrow it for the weekend and we could bring our own SIM card, I mean, that would save us like a huge amount of money.
Well, let's put that on let's put that on Facebook and the website. See if we've got any takers. Folks might be folks might be willing to help us there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I was telling you, Eric, if we do something like that, we'll need to have somebody to go over to the hotel and just make sure that the cell works for that, in that location.
Okay.
Because I'd hate to get a Verizon or AT&T, and then AT&T has one bar in that area. That'd be that'd be bad.
Yep.
Henry Strickland was using a 5G setup last year, and I don't remember offhand. It may have been T-Mobile. No, or I think it might have been Verizon. I think they were using that had good coverage. So he'd be a good person to ask what worked well.
And that's good because I just got an email from him the other day, so I will reach out to him then this weekend.
Yeah, he had a couple different ones, a couple different SIM cards, and the SIM card that had kind of a cap on it was the one that had better coverage. So yeah, you want to know so you know which type of SIM card to get.
Right.
Does Starlink have a good upload speed or only a good download speed?
Well, it's good, but it's expensive.
I've got to cut out now. Good to see you all.
Yeah. See, Rich.
I think Starlink does not have a great upload from my experience.
Yeah, and they're like $500 just to get this satellite, I think, too. So it's not cheap.
Yeah, but if somebody's got a camper and they already have one, they can just pull their camper up into the parking lot and hook it up.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Hopefully, if it covers that far, yes.
FYI, if you do that, you have to change your address through Starlink. They kind of zone you in on what your address is supposed to be.
2 to 10 meg for mobile, so not a ton. I think you'd be better off with that's upload speed. They'd be better off with a 5G connection. I don't want to. I feel like we're getting into solutioning it right now. I would say let's make sure that we know what we need, and then we'll be the best position to try to get it for the show. So you're going to work on potentially tables for the hall, And then obviously we have this other room that we can tap into if we need to.
Correct.
David has his hand up. David?
Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Do we have a quick question about, I have a quick question about the tables, please. Sorry, that's my dog barking.
That's okay.
This is really more of an etiquette question. So, like last year and the year before, I was thankful, I thought about buying a table last year and they were so inexpensive. But my friend Brian Goers bought one and it's like, well, I'm going to sit at the table with him. And that's kind of what he did. He just kind of set a few things up there and we're just kind of sitting there. We really weren't selling anything. The question is what is the etiquette for doing that again? And the reason I'm asking is because it feels like with, all the demand in such a short period of time that if somebody was just to purchase a table just for a sit around and there's a vendor that could be there, doing some commerce, I feel like I wouldn't want to infringe. I feel that almost feels like an infringement. If I, you know what I mean? I would feel bad if somebody got shut out. And so
it's funny that Grant and I were talking about that just the other day. How we really don't want that to happen. And I think in the past we were able to discourage that by selling some tables in the hallway in the old building or whatever. It was kind of like a place to chill or something. I forgot what Tony called it. But they were tables that weren't directly in the venue, but they were somewhere where people could put their stuff down and set up or something or whatever.
A place to call home.
Tony's actually
Yeah,
here, so maybe Tony, you can weigh in.
Yeah.
A place to call home.
A place to call home. What?
Yeah.
How do you remember how those were priced? Was that like $5 or $10 or? I mean, I suppose I can go back to the old sheets and see.
Yeah, it might have been $5 cheap, less than a regular exhibitor table.
Okay. David, I think to answer your question, yeah, that's, when we have extra, so it's kind of a double-edged sword, in my opinion. So when we moved from Heron Point to the Elk Grove Village and now to, excuse me, you always have to burp right as you go to talk. So as we went to Elk Grove Village and now to the Wheaton location or Carroll Stream location, I had a concern about, we moved to a significantly larger venue. And so when you make that big jump, the number of, assuming that we're growing, it tends to be, it looked like from 2015 to maybe 2019 or so, it seemed like we added X number of tables per year, but it was kind of a linear thing, right? So every year there'd be a little bit more interest, there'd be a few more tables done, whatnot. So you could kind of expect that to go linearly. But when we made the jump to Elk Grove Village, for instance, we had this amazingly huge number of tables. And so we really didn't do the whole a place to call home anymore because we were worried that if we tried to save all the tables, we would end up with a bunch of holes, right? People who didn't buy tables, which seems fair because there was, maybe 25 tables in the previous venue, and now you've got, I don't know, there was like 69 tables or 50 tables or something you could do at Elk Grove Village, and here's like 40 or so. So I think we kind of got away from that thinking, okay, well, we'll go ahead and have people be placeholders so that it doesn't look bare. But now we have the problem again where we're having a lot of interest and we really do want to use those tables for exhibitors or vendors and not for, not for folks just to have a place to sit during the day. So I would say if
that's
I would
perfect. Yeah.
discourage you
No,
to not do
thank you.
that, and then, but
Yeah,
maybe
no,
we have.
perfect. No, I'm sorry to interrupt. That's perfect. That totally answers my question. And that is kind of like, that is another reason why I didn't do it last year. And I was like, well, Brian's got one, so I'm just gonna. He let me hang out with him the year before, and it's like he's not gonna get mad at me for sitting there shooting the breeze with him. So it's like I'm gonna go hang out with him. And so, but then I saw this happening, and I thought, yeah, I don't know if Brian's going to be there, but then it's like selling out, and it's like, you know what? It's just like I said a minute ago. If somebody's going to come in there and do commerce, I would rather somebody be there and do commerce than me. Yeah, it's totally answer the question. So on the flip side of that, I would just agree with you and just say that things are really exciting with the cocoa world right now. I mean, you know, like just before the pandemic, I was looking at my cocos and I was like, these things aren't going to be worth anything, you know. And it's like the base models are worth $300 now. So there's on eBay, right? We were just talking about it. So it's like really exciting. So I'm with you. I want to reserve that space for somebody somebody who should get it. So thanks for that.
Oh, that's fine. I think what we'll, I assume Grant will probably let us know, but I suspect I'll end up in a conversation as we get into the March, April timeframe where we've got, maybe 10 or so people that want tables and there's no tables available. And so we may have to go asking some folks like I had considered. I went ahead and registered a couple tables, in the main venue. I may give up those tables and go somewhere else, like maybe anchor that other room or be in the hallway to try and open up some space for somebody who's a new exhibitor or a new vendor.
I'm
And
available for that too if you have run out of room for tables. I
yeah,
reserve two.
that's the thing. I mean, I don't want to do it yet, but I'm thinking we may reach out to some of the exhibitors and do some things like, hey, you reserve 3 tables. Do you really need 3 tables? Or hey, you're in the main room. Is there a possibility we could maybe relocate you to the hallway or to this other room? So I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it prematurely, but we may end up, because we want to make sure that there's as much opportunity for people to exhibit or or sell products as
Well,
possible at the show.
I've got some odds and mods I want to sell, but I may not need 2 tables.
Fair enough. Well, don't be shortchanging yourself just yet. I'm hopeful actually that we end up in a situation where we have a few people that are looking for tables. Because if we do move things to the hallway, we want to make sure that there's enough volume out there that doesn't make it look like you were an afterthought, right? Like, oh yeah, and there's all these people in the main room, and then there's Jim sitting over here in the corner with his table, right?
Could I speak up just a moment?
Yeah, sure, John.
Yes, something I would also like to see, because the people who are buying the tables in the main room to commit to be there most of the time. I've gone to so many hamfests and things in the past that the second day there's nobody there, and we need that value of people moving between both days. Because when a lot of vendors leave, the other people leave, and so we need them to be there, if possible, a long time to anchor the people because they're going to say it's over. And that's
Absolutely.
something I've seen. It started to happen these past couple fests that I want to make a comment on.
Yep. No, fair enough. Fair enough. So, well, and that's a good thing. I mean, Grant and I may need to go around to the tables at the beginning. We really have taken a pretty hands-off approach to to the folks that are reserving tables or whatnot, but maybe an email prior or whatnot, just to David's point, to kind of set a little bit of etiquette, right? I think we try to make the show as fun and rule free as possible. But you're right. Coming in after lunch, you come back from a lunch, leave at noon, come back at 1 o'clock, and half the main area is all packed up and gone. It doesn't really it doesn't look good. That's not very good optics. Um, so definitely good point. We'll try to see what we can do to keep everybody engaged until at least 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and what I'm noticing too from a couple of my other conventions I go to now is they're not doing it on Sundays anymore. They are actually starting their conventions on Fridays and Saturdays, and then don't even have anything on Sunday because everybody's leaving to go back home to go to work on Monday. So that might be something we might need to look into doing maybe next year or something like that, a Friday and Saturday instead of a Saturday and Sunday type of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I know after the show, one of the shows at Elk Grove Village, there was conversation around extending it to 3 days. and you know, have more time for exhibit or not exhibits, but presentations and whatnot. And I was like, you know, I'm not opposed to that, but you know, typically that means that you have to, you know, uh, you gain 50% of the cost of renting the facility because you need to rent for that third day, and that's not a cheap amount. So we have to kind of consider that because right now it is kind of expensive, as Eric showed, to put on the show. I didn't realize that all in it was $8,200 by the time we were done with food and the venue and everything. So quite an expense. Any other questions? Thanks, Dave, for that question. Any other questions about the fest and time frame, tables, food, exhibits, presentations, whatever?
Do we have any problems with power? Like, if I could find a way to shed some of the power, um, would anybody be interested in that?
I wasn't aware of any problems with power last year, and we had most of the outlets occupied. So, Grant?
I bring power strips that I can share if anybody wants to use them.
Yeah, I didn't hear anybody have any issues with power either, so I don't think that was an issue at all.
I think we're good.
Okay, because the VCFMW had some people trying to do a Digital Equipment Corporation PDP 8, and they were only getting like 80 or 90 volts or for some reason, and they couldn't even boot their computers properly.
Yeah, those are, but that's I mean, I think that's a 240 machine, and there's only one in the Clarion. There's only one wall that has 240 service, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. That's the reason the mainframe's always in that one section of the show floor. But I don't, as far as I know, we don't have any Cocos that or
I hope not.
or friends that take 240, and definitely nobody takes three phase. So I think we're good. Okay, so you know, I don't want to belabor the point. I did though. So Grant, is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Any other items? I know we want people to make sure they get their reservations in as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Anything else?
that's pretty much, and then I'll be start working on presentations here too as well. So any updates, just be looking for them on the Facebook and website and Discord channels.
Okay, Randy, did you have anything you needed to add about Handy List?
Well, I never got a chance to tell everybody what was changed on the system. So I could give you a brief update on that. I cleaned up the PayPal interaction code. There was some inconsistency between some of the buttons that were created. So I got that all cleaned up, and so we were having a few failed transactions the year before, or at least the people would pay and then it wouldn't update the website. That's all been cleaned up by improving that code. Added an ability to manage and self-purchase membership. So somebody can log in, and on the membership page, there is a list of years that I tried to get as much information I could from Bob's Fields in order to show a history of dues being paid, but those fields are pretty bad, and they almost had like a Y10-year K problem because he was representing the year with one digit, so it's like impossible to decode some of that. So I did the best I could. I put that in there. So you can see the history, I think back to 2016. You can see what dues were paid and what weren't. You can pay your dues, so you can click it and go through PayPal, and it'll update that record. But also admins can go in there and add or check the box for someone else. So you can, the admins can go clean that up and fix it if it's inaccurate. And that's integrated with the purchase of vendor tables, because if you're a vendor, you automatically get your dues updated. So that's all integrated with that. But and also you can pay for your guests' dues through the system as well. But last year we had and when I keep speaking of it is last year. Okay, so last year we did have a problem where some people forgot to pay for their guests membership, and they wanted to do that. So now it's self-service and they can go do that.
Okay.
So we got that accomplished. Also we had a issue with the mail getting delivered because of the mail servers we're using. Uh, Unfortunately, nowadays with spam the way it is and all the spam lists the way they are, you absolutely have to go through a major service if you want to improve your chances of getting through the spam filters in this world. And we're not even talking spam filters where your mail ends up in a spam folder. I'm talking about where they just reject it outright.
Mhm.
And we were particularly having a problem with Gmail, which is a big provider. So that was a problem. So I moved the notification email service to Azure, which is a reputable service. So we shouldn't have that problem anymore. We were having a problem with people being able to reset their password or register even because they couldn't get the email that would verify someone's email address. So we fixed all that. And the next thing I'm working on is allowing for modifications of your registration. We've had a lot of registrations over the last few weeks. And some people are hasty about it and they're just clicking and they change their mind and they want to, they want 2 tables, they want 3 tables, they want 1 table, they forgot to add a guest, forgot to do this or that, or add a dinner or something like that. So I am working on making it so that you can go back and you can modify your registration, and it'll calculate the difference in PayPal and allow us to allow them to pay the difference if there's an increased amount. If there's a refund required, I'll be sending an email over to Eric in order to do that manually.
Mhm.
We won't be doing automated credits through the system.
Okay.
But in that case, I'm also building him an admin so that he can verify in the system that he received that, or he gave them their refund, because
Okay.
it won't be through the system, and we want to try to make the system be the source of information,
Okay.
and as best we can. So the other thing would be when we receive a check in the mail, and some people registered with checks in the mail.
Mhm.
We also want to go back and update Tandy List saying that we received the check. So I'm building an admin for that as well. And if there's cash at the door, that's another way people can do it. They can pay cash at the door.
Well, the
And that was
check
something.
thing works, right? Because I used that the other day
What check thing?
in Tandy List.
What? I didn't build anything for that, so that's
Yeah,
amazing.
you did. We have an admin panel for that. Maybe you forgot. Maybe you forgot. I'll show it to you later.
Any other big ticket items? I want to make sure we got one more topic I want to cover. So anything else, Randy?
No.
Okay. Appreciate it. So I did want to bring up before we break for the evening, I had one more item that's and Mark, I don't know if you saw my note, Mark Overholzer, but I sent you a chat, but I'm going to put Mark on the spot. But so into the month, this month on the 27th and the 28th. So we talked about this like in the November timeframe, either October or November, about instead of doing our year-end kind of virtual kind of get together, that we would work with the Cocoa Nation to put on a virtual um, kind of fest, I guess, virtual kind of conference, a 2-day conference. And Mark is all roads lead to Mark Overholzer. So, Mark, I was thinking maybe if you could come off mute and maybe give us a lowdown and put a plug in for that, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, don't mind at all. Actually, I haven't really gotten any responses. I've not gotten any emails or any direct messages. I've Paul Fiscarelli mentioned somebody mentioned him presenting something, and I talked with him, and he said he's out of town basically both Cocoa Fest weekend and the last weekend of this month. And the only other person that gave a response was Brazilian cocoa user. What's his name? Luciano. Anyway, he said he'd be interested, but he has to wait a little closer to the end of the month to make sure he has time.
Okay.
But other than that, I've not heard yay or nay. I mean, just nothing. I mean, I've posted in all the different Facebook groups. I can't remember which login I used for the Cocoa mailing list, so I didn't publish it there. And I put it, of course, on the Cocoa Discord and stuff. We mentioned it on the show, but the Cocoa Nation. But nobody said anything, yay or nay. I haven't even had any people tell me that no, it's not convenient for me. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. It's taken me a few days to kind of get engaged after the first of the year. I kind of had a case of I'm not wanting to get back into work. So let's go ahead and maybe you and I can chat over Discord, and I'll get it out. I'll get another note out to the mailing list. Actually, I haven't sent anything to the mailing list. I'll send something out to the mailing list, and I'll send something out to our we have like a not Survey Monkey, but our email distribution. I can send something out there. So I guess my ask for folks that are on the call tonight is if you know of someone who has a project that is not going to be able to attend to Cocoa Fest, or can only attend virtually because they're not in the United States and they can't travel, like Nick Marentes is somebody I was thinking about, right? Because he's probably not going to be able to come face a physical Cocoa Fest. If you could do us a favor and make sure they're aware that we have this, and we'd love to have them present during this virtual fest. It's going to be the 27th and the 28th of January, so it's coming up here in a couple weeks. And I'd love to have. I don't know if we'll end up with 2 days of stuff, but it would be nice to have.
Trying to be flexible.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to have a nice Saturday of presentations. I'm trying to put together, as I indicated a couple months ago, I'm trying to put together the BBS that we talked about in October, November, trying to get some initial stuff done for that so I can show that off. But I definitely am interested in folks who will not be able to present or be able to attend Cocoa Fest. We do tend to favor physical presentations for Cocoa Fest, and so sometimes some good virtual presentations aren't able to be scheduled. So I'll put another note out. I'll put a note on the mailing list and whatnot. But if each of you have somebody that you're interested to hear from on a presentation, if you could make sure they're aware to get a hold of Mark Overholzer, we'd appreciate it.
I'll put out another listing on Facebook on the various groups, and just so it gets bumped back up at the top of the list. So
sounds good.
Yeah, you might reach out to Simon and everything too over there across the pond.
Yes, I should do that.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that sign up until yesterday. And I hang out in multimedia. Do you guys put announcements on multimedia anymore?
Oh, multimedia? Yeah, that's the one. I can't remember which account I can't remember which of my email accounts is signed up with that. So no, I haven't.
Well, when I logged on yesterday, I about had to pick my jaw up and put it back on because, as you said, the tables were almost all gone. I said, I had no idea the sign up was even started. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe I should have signed on to the website.
No, it's just and this is I don't know, it's just unfortunate set of timing. So I know Randy and Grant had been working on the website trying to get it ready to be rolled out, and Grant asked a couple of us to check it out. And of course, some folks had word of mouth, right? Like, hey, the Dandy List is up and whatever. And if you go there, you can, I mean, you can see that it's changed, right? So people who maybe were saying, oh, I need to see if I can register a table. Well, all of a sudden you wouldn't see it, and then you would, right? I was a little surprised, and I think Grant was as well. Once the word was kind of it just was kind of trickled out that the site was up and running, the tables just went. It just like before we could even get really good communications out. So we're a little behind the eight ball. I think in the future we probably should do it as a test thing because it's really, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I hate to put too much um, structure around this, but we need to make sure that we're giving everybody a fair chance to reserve a table, right? You know, if they want a table, we want to make sure that everybody has equal opportunity to get access to the environment, and we need to communicate that out. So there's a little bit we really didn't understand how I guess how interesting the fest and the tables were until they started disappearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to, I'll add that the part of it was my idea because I wanted to do a soft launch because we had made so many changes with the payment system. These are things that are hard to test. You know, I mean, you can have it in test mode and it works great, and then when you turn it live, you have a problem. And I didn't want to announce to everybody that we're good to go, and then everybody have a problem. So I was trying to do a soft launch, like a few folks. But yeah, I mean, I guess once the word got out, it went nuts.
Well, I got charged for dues, then I paid for the tables. So I don't mind donating the money. I just want to make sure there's a meal for myself and my wife because things kind of exploded on me. But at any rate, I
Yeah,
think I'm good.
cool. Any other, I guess, any other comments or questions about what's going on here in the next few months? Okay.
Hopefully, I'll be over COVID by then.
Well, yeah, we hope so too.
That was my New Year's. Got COVID.
Well, I guess yay for you. I'm not sure how boo, good, bad. That
Yeah, me and my little bride. That's how we celebrate New Year's.
um Rich had to leave, but I was gonna note I'm starting to get notices now that we need to file our 990 form, which is the 501c3 form. So I'll reach out to him, make sure that he knows that. Um, but yeah, I think this is going to be a great year for the fest. Um, my only concern, I think, and some of you may be aware of this, but at the fall, you know, a number of us folks in the community attend the VCF Midwest show that was previously held at the Clarion Inn in Elmhurst, I think is in Elmhurst. And it was, I mean, it was something this past fall. I mean, I don't know who all tried to show up on Saturday, but I mean, there were people selling stuff out of the back of their car, and they had tents set up in the parking lot. And
You're right. So you're being
huh?
transmitted, and
Um,
you're
and the I remember going out in front at
Hi, Tony.
9:30 or so to tell people who were waiting in line that there's no entrance fee. So unless you need to buy a T-shirt, you can go on in, right? So there was a lot going on, and it was wall-to-wall people for a long time. And I know that VCF Midwest organizers just sounded a note to a number of us telling us that they're working on a new venue for this coming year. Which is evidently going to be significantly larger than the Clarion. And I thought when they showed us the Clarion facility in I don't know 2021 or 2019 or whatever, that I mean 12,000 square feet it was cavernous. So if things go as way they are and we continue to grow in interest in the fest, we may have to make some difficult decisions about finding a new home as well. So I'm kind of hoping that we can take a couple years before we have to do that, because I think uh, the the Carroll Stream facility is a really nice facility, but it sounds like we're going to be pushing it even this year on space.
Well, this is the accountant speaking in me. So, I mean, if we want to sell those tables, we just got to charge more, and that will push away the people who want to buy a table just to sit at a table. Um, so, I think we can solve some of the problems with simple things like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, we also don't want to discourage people from showing. So if we can get cheap tables, the more the merrier.
Yep. Tony, you're not on mute.
Yeah, green.
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Green.
Tap the screen.
Download. Oh shoot.
Okay. Well, I don't have any other business, so I'll be happy to entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I have a couple business items.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the eBay auctions, or is that for another month?
I would say I didn't know that it was part of the. Let's put it on the next month's topic, so I make sure to devote, make sure I have time for it. So definitely do that.
Okay, then we have two things that I want to cover real quick.
Okay.
Steve Bjork unfortunately passed away. So he left. He had a lot of programs and a lot of software, and I'm wondering if it was known throughout the community that he was donating his copyrights to the club. I'm wondering if the club wants to investigate that, or if we want to just let his things live out in the ether. I mean, what's the club's feelings on his legacy?
Anyone have comments?
I mean, do we have a leg to stand on? I mean, I'm not quite
Well,
sure.
we could we could do something like a probate search or something to search for his will and see if he did leave something for us. If he did, then we can assert those rights by selling his software or doing whatever we want with those rights. Assuming he did not leave a will, then we don't have any rights to his things.
I don't mind. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I know you had asked about doing a search for the obituary or the death certificate, and I didn't have a problem with that. I don't think there's any issue with doing at least an initial search. Do you know how much it would cost to do that?
I haven't looked at the cost. I think this death certificate was $51. And actually, I mean, if I'd entertain a reimbursement for that if the club wanted to cover that. But I mean, I'm happy to just donate that too. It's not a big deal. But yeah, so $51 for his certificate. I would assume a probate search would probably be something similar.
I'm fine with that. I mean, obviously I can't move, but I think it's fine to have the. I mean, it was perfectly okay. I felt like within the rights. I mean, Glenside coming up with the definitive answer helped the community immensely, in my opinion, because before that it was all a bunch of conjecture, right? Is he or isn't he? Where is he? Whatever. So I think that $51 was well spent, and I don't think you should have to go into in to. I don't think you have to personally pay for that to deal with it. But I'm thinking we should, if we're going to make a motion, let's just make a motion for like $150 to take care of both of these things or something like that, like to whatever the cost of the probate search is and the within reason and the $51 for the death certificate search, just to get those taken care of to see if there's anything.
Jim, I would make a motion for exactly what you just said.
Okay, so
I'll
150.
second it.
150. So that's Terry making a motion, and who did the second? I'm sorry. Oh,
Richard.
Richard. Sorry, Richard. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed?
Aye. Not opposed.
Okay. Motion carries.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
Well, I'll update you guys next month on what I find with that then.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay. Was there, I thought you had another item.
Yeah, so the next item I have is some of Bjork's items came up for auction, and there's going to be occasions where there's other interesting items that come up for auction, and it would be cool for the club to buy those if it's perhaps out of reach of our normal membership, or or it's a significant item that we wouldn't want to go to a private collector. We will want to release to the community. So I would like to move that we set up a fund for eBay auctions that maybe requires some approvals from the directorship, or maybe more than one, just to make sure it's not abused. And I would like to set that fund at maybe $500 or $1,000.
Any, I guess, first of all, is there a second for that particular motion?
I'll second it.
David seconds the motion. So,
Yep.
Any comments on the motion?
No drunk buying.
My question,
No drunk buying allowed.
if I can, my question would be, who gets to decide what is of interest to the club that we would want to invest in these auctions?
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I
Excellent
mentioned
question.
the directorship. So we probably need to say, what is a significant auction item or item out in the world that we want, and then who's going to make those approvals. So I think the directorship would make those approvals. And the reason that we're talking about a fund for this is because we can't wait a month or 2 weeks or even 3 days sometimes for approval from the membership to buy something. So that's what this fund would be for, is if we can't wait for approval, we have some money set aside.
I know.
So
I
this
know.
would be kind of like things like Steve Bjork's stuff coming up for auction that were kind of rare that we would want to get. So those type of things, what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, let's say someone's computer, I think his computer came up for sale somewhere, or I don't know, stuff that maybe we wouldn't want a private collector to have and then never share with the community. But at the same time, we got to be aware not to compete with our members, because we're here to serve our membership.
I know. I mean, during the all the conversation around, from Steve's perspective, I did get a number of comments that were critical of having the club purchase items. I think there was some concern around what the club was going to do with them after they purchased them. Obviously, if it's software, the idea, I thought, was that we would make sure that the software is archived somewhere, and then it would, hopefully continue to get dispersed out. I don't think I'm not in favor of the club. I guess maybe it's just my philosophy, but I'm not really in favor of the club holding on to much. The club library, as far as software titles and whatnot, and hardware items and whatnot, it's very hard, given the geographic distribution of our club now, to have people check those out and use them. So ultimately, they just set in a box and never get used. And so, except for some very specific items, like if it was specifically designed for the club and we wanted to keep one of them, like a Glenside ID controller or something, we wanted to keep one of them because we designed it and built it, or maybe the old club PC because we have the old club hard drive and whatnot. But beyond that, I didn't really think that we should keep things. So my thought is that if we bought it, it would be to archive it. If it was software, I don't know what we would do with hardware, but for software, archive it and then get it on its way to somebody, right? Either turn around and sell it on eBay or whatever. But they were still critical of that. They felt like that was dicey, and it would only really work for software. Hardware was challenging. What would you do with it? And having the club put it in an auction was potentially okay during the fest, but then how does that, to your point, Eric, I think there was a concern around the club ends up then potentially competing with individual buyers to purchase the items. So I just wanted to point that out. I did get a couple comments on this during the first phase when we were reaching out. Folks were saying, "Hey, can Glenside lend a hand here?" And there were people saying, "Please don't."
So what, as far as hardware goes, what if we had some kind of Glenside thing that we did at our fests, some kind of museum, like timeline display of, you know, archived items or whatever that were historically relevant to the cocoa community. Wouldn't that be a use of those sorts of hardware things?
Well, I mean, it it would be. I mean, you could do that, and we don't have much because we put a lot of it in the auction and dispersed it a couple years
Hi,
ago.
everyone. This past
But
weekend, I went to a bit.
um, but I think the key is, so you have something that's historically significant, and you put it in the museum, and that's fine. We can look at it. But if that thing is particularly rare and not very many people have it, it just sits in the museum and doesn't actually get used. Is that the right thing to do with that particular item? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking.
Well, the fund that I'm talking about is more like an emergency. We need to do something. It's hard to predict what it'll be. You know, maybe a Cocoa Deluxe will come up, and only Glenside is in the best position to get it for some reason. You know, but we don't have approval from the membership, so we're just gonna let that one go to the wherever. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I really can see both sides of it. I mean, I truly agree that making sure that there's like the ROMs from a Cocoa Deluxe, for instance, we definitely would want to. I mean, I think anything that has digital archival capability, we would want to do that. We want to take copious amounts of pictures of the device, and if it was immediately in a private collector's hands, then you're at the mercy of the collector, who may or may not share that information for the good of the whole community. I don't know. It seemed like a very polarizing topic though when it came up here a couple weeks ago. Any other,
Yeah,
I guess, any
I
other
think
comments?
I think where I'm going with this whole thought process is, like you said, Jim, uh, with things that we can archive, you know, digital archives, magazines we can archive, uh, software we can archive, but we we're not really a museum. We're a club about sharing cocos and the cocoa experience. And uh, where do we draw the line as far as what are we going to buy if we go this route, and where are we going to store it, and who's going to be in charge of this collection if that's what it comes to? My thought was that every time we get donations, essentially we put those in the auctions anyway and put those out to the community. So I'm just kind of confused why we would
Well,
want to really set up this kind of fund to
yeah, is a good
Yeah,
question.
and real quick, David D, I'm just going to second that. I kind of feel like when we were talking about this, that was the intention, was to get something for the benefit of an auction. So I wasn't thinking of it in a collective sense. I'm still going to second the motion and support the idea, because I like the idea that if something comes up and it's a one-time opportunity and it's something that we really want to get, I don't want the club to be in a strapped position where they can't do it. But at the same time, maybe we put some restrictions on it, and like Eric said, maybe we make sure there's doesn't get abused, that kind of thing. There's some oversight, that kind of
Well,
thing.
and another thing too is once we get that item, the fund doesn't dictate that we're keeping it or that we're doing this with it or we're doing that with it. Once we have the item, we have to go to the meeting and we say, hey, we got this item. We paid money for it. What do you guys want to do with it? And then we can just put it back on eBay. We can put it back on auction at Cocoa Fest, or we can archive it. You know, whatever it is. It's just that we have the opportunity to make a decision of what to do with it. Whereas in some cases we may, you know, without this fund, we may see an item and it'll just pass into someone else's hands and we never had an opportunity to look at it.
If I may, I was part of another computer group years ago, and went down that road, and it wasn't pretty. To tell you the truth, I'm against this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your microphone. It was a little hard to hear what you said. So, what were you
What
saying again?
I was part of a computer group years ago that went down that road, and it didn't end well.
Oh,
So
okay.
therefore, I'm
Okay.
against this.
Well, what did
Okay.
they do? What happened?
Where you had this group against that group that didn't want to spend the money, and the lawyers got involved. I'm telling you, it didn't for
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want that to happen. Yeah.
Harry?
Jim, on the Coco Nation, we are starting a program. We actually have it on our website, the Project Preservation. Mark O. Overhoser is kind of leading that. I wonder if it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe the Glenside group and that tied together, maybe as an outreach for people who have collections and some of this very important stuff, give them very, I don't know how you say it. For my own kids, I've got a few things that I really don't want them to just get rid of that they should sell or whatever. And to be able to give them a point of contact and who to trust and who to talk to and maybe some pricing, those kind of things, I think that'd be great. And we wouldn't have like this issue with Steve Bjork's stuff if his family or executor knew that his wishes were there, and if there was an easy format for them to see this stuff, we could help. Just a thought.
Okay. Any other comments on this? I realize it's a little bit of a controversial topic, but Randy, John Mark, Mark,
I'm good with it.
Carrie, Alan.
What about a topic?
Well, the topic we're talking about. Do you have any comments on it?
No.
Okay.
No,
No,
I'm good. It's
I'm
one of
cool with
those,
it.
it's a good idea, but yeah, there are so many perils and pitfalls. Maybe it'd be worth bringing it back up next month, just after people have had a chance to really think about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we need to come up with some more, maybe some restrictions and safety, things to
Yeah,
keep
but
everybody
if
happy.
something comes up recent, I think we should do it, but we may then decide to put it in our auction, and then it doesn't become a problem. So I think so we don't lose the opportunity. I think we should probably vote on it and not wait a month.
Okay.
Because of the timeliness of the issue.
I'm happy to call for the vote. It does sound like I need to get some specifics on pros and or yeses and nos though. So I would say John Mark, what's your thought on this? Yay or nay?
Should we have an emergency fund for something that might come up?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
$1,000. The proposal on the floor is $1,000.
And
To be
let's say it
decided.
requires approval from maybe 2 or 3 people, like directors.
Okay, so requires 2 or 3. So which is it, 2 or 3?
Uh,
I want to
well,
make sure.
3 is probably going to be less problematic than 2.
Okay, so
What,
requires
Jim,
approval.
what are we doing for Grant as far as the Coco Fest? There's a fund that he has. Is that just discretionary or how is
Yeah,
that?
it's discretionary. Grant has access to that fund. It's $500. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought the more people you get, Eric's exactly right. You're not going to have probably not going to have everybody agree.
True. Although I do think that the Coco Fest fund is, I mean, it's limited to things that we absolutely kind of make sense for a fest to need, like buying paper or a poster board or something, tablecloths or whatever it is. That's allowed. You couldn't go just buy anything with it. You couldn't buy it at Poco or whatever. It's limited. There's very specific rules around what he can and can't use for it. Um, but you're right. It was built the same way so that he didn't have to. So Grant didn't have to come every day and say, "Hey, I need $50 for some lanyards or $150 or whatever for lanyards." But he did, but the key is that that does get approved in arrears. So, which I think would be the same here. I'm just trying to think. I just want to make sure that I've got the proposal correct because I don't want people voting on something that's not clear to them. So it sounds like Eric's proposal is to have 3 people approve a sale, and it's $1,000 fund that's set aside. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
and let's say it's two of those people have to be the officers, the president, treasurer, vice president, or secretary.
3 people, 2 officers required. Okay. So John Mark, that's the proposal on the table.
Well, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to go down my list here. I can't vote. Randy, what's your thoughts?
I approve it.
Okay. Carrie?
Yeah, I approve that.
Actually, oh, that's Terry. Sorry, Terry. Okay. Carrie, though, I have Carrie on the Carrie Shug. I don't know if he can hear me or not. What's your thoughts? Yeah, a yay or a no, a yay or a nay on that.
I think we need to think about this more. I would say nay.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Mark M.
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me. I think I'll have to respectfully abstain. I appreciate
That's fine.
the chance.
Greg?
Personally, I think we should table this until we get a specific rule set up for what we're going to allow to be bought and who's going to be in charge of making those decisions.
Okay, that's fair. Richard?
I'm with the last voter there. Let's table it until we can really get it squared away.
Okay. Terry's provided a response. Tony? Tony, are you still around?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. What's your thought? Yay or nay?
Well, the 2 officers and a 3rd person, it's not a bad idea. The whole thing is a good start, so I would approve that. But with a codicil that Greg's suggestion can be rolled into it at a later date to set up the rules for the funding or the spending of the funds.
Okay. Okay.
But overall, yes.
Okay. James R.
I'm just visiting today, so sorry. I shouldn't really get involved. Thanks.
Okay. No, that's fine. David?
Hi, sorry for the delay. I'm fumbling with my mute buttons. I'm going to go yay for this. And, I just also want to remind everybody, I'm also in favor of making sure that there's, some guardrails. But at the same time, I think we're also proposing that in kind of or I shouldn't say we are proposing that. That is being proposed in more of an ambiguous way because you've got 2 officers and another person that are going to make the decision. And that kind of helps. It doesn't predict how some of those logistics are going to be handled, but it adds some responsibility to the purchase to those individuals. And so I just want to, keep that in mind as a compensating feature of the plan.
Okay.
So I'm a yay. Sorry for taking so long.
No, that's fine. Alan?
So, with the thought in mind that every month we can repropose and also come up with changes, I think that everything that I saw go on with the Discord and everything around Steve Bjork's passing, and there were missed opportunities left, right, and center there. I would say yay to have some sort of emergency fund and to have that, right now where the officers can decide if something comes up with, bring it up next month and the month after to make it more and more and refine it.
Okay.
But, what are we doing right now? I would say yay.
Okay. Eric, I assume you're a yay.
Yeah, no, but I'm definitely in agreement with Greg, Richard, that we need to be very careful about it, and we need to talk about it more maybe next month.
Okay. Grant?
I'm a yay.
Okay. Well, it was definitely not unanimous, but the yays do appear to be more prevalent. So I did have a number of nays who could potentially be yays based on tabling it for more detail. So I guess what I'm getting out of this is yes, it passes. So if there is an expenditure that needs to happen in the next 31 days, there's a trio of individuals that need to approve, two of which are officers, in order to make that happen. But I do think that, and Eric, I guess, what to put you on the spot since you made the motion, there needs to be more formality, much more formality about what this is. Like, is there going to be a approval in arrears at the meeting? So if it's not something that we want, then we divest it very quickly. What's our expectation? Are we definitely going to put these things in the auction or not? So can you take ownership of putting that together
Sure.
and reporting at the next
Sure,
meeting?
it might be worth thinking about putting this in the bylaws. If this is going to be an ongoing fund, and then yeah, we'll go from there.
Okay.
Mr. President, can I make
Yeah.
a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that this particular adopted resolution is considered only temporary until the next meeting, just in case of timing, and that we re-vote on it or depending on the particulars that are going to be presented at the next meeting.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a second. I have a motion for this, making this particular item a temporary item for the next month. Greg has seconded. Any comments? Okay.
I don't want anybody to get the impression that I'm against this. I want to make sure that we have a structure so that it doesn't go sideways on us.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay.
Because $1,000 can go real fast.
Yes.
Exactly.
It can.
I think we need guidelines on how to evaluate the true value of this item and what things can, qualify. Like if you make software, we're going to archive it and then keep it going. That's fine. But what about some piece of hardware? And is it going to just end up in somebody's basement? I mean, it needs much strong, some examples, if nothing else, of what qualifies and what doesn't qualify.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any other comments? Okay, I'm gonna.
I would just point out that it is not going to be refunded. So if the money, if we don't like how the money gets spent,
You mean replenished?
Replenished. The money doesn't get replenished. So we were only out up to $1,000. It's never going to be more than that if people are displeased.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a vote. All those in favor of the temporary nature of this, as per the motion on the floor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Are they ending it? I had
Any-
a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was a question?
Lynn had a question, but not regarding this
Oh, okay.
particular item.
Okay, sorry. Any opposed? Okay. Carrie has an opposition for it being temporary. Okay. The motion carries. Okay.
Yeah, my concern is whether there are legal things we don't know because we're not lawyers.
Right.
So
Fair
we
enough.
get in trouble, we risk our nonprofit status with this.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but no, a nonprofit can buy and sell things. That they do that all the time.
But you know, do we have, is this a sufficiently robust approval process for that? I mean, this is a slush fund, basically, because it's totally at the whim of whoever's doing it at the time. It's not like buying lanyards for Cocoa Fest. It's, you know, great. Granted, hopefully it will be disapproved, but it could be buying, you know, 20 gallons of ice cream. I mean, there is nothing in the proposal that limits how it's spent.
Well, why don't we add a limit that the because we haven't voted on, we've only voted on the temporary status, right? We haven't voted on the motion. So the motion I'd modify to
No, actually, we voted.
we
Yeah,
did.
we voted on
okay.
both. Yeah, so
Well,
we did.
then let's
However,
make a new. I
well,
agree. I agree with Carrie. Let's make a new motion then. I'll move that we limit our fund to only things that are tangentially Candy Cocoa related software or hardware.
well,
Well,
I
let's
would.
talk about this next month.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think first of all, we're running a little late. I'd like to finish up the meeting. It's good stuff, but I don't want to delay us any further.
That
And
way, everybody will have their minds settled, more settled.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
All right. I will. I'll withdraw.
and I think Alan's perspective is that's what he wants to kind of percolate over the next month, right? So this money is here for the next 30 days, so that if we see something that needs to be taken care of in the next 30 days, we can take care of it. But at the
Plus,
end of
we
the
have
30
two
days,
officers that have to care for it.
correct. Two officers, three people, two of which have to be officers, three directors, two of which have to be officers. So the in 30 days, I would say that's the appropriate place for Eric, for you to put that additional formality in. Let's bring that more robust proposal forward in our February meeting.
Okay. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
withdraw what I was saying.
Okay. Any other new business?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
One year somebody raised a fuss because I was bringing non-cocoa items to sell. Is that still an issue, or can I get a table and sell my whatnots? Because the year that they made that decision, they didn't tell me beforehand. They didn't tell me until I got there. I had all my stuff ready to go. I had bought a table, and then I was told, no, you can't be in here.
I don't
want to get
yeah.
off and go if there's somebody that, you know, well, it's not cocoa stuff, so you can't be here. So
Grant,
anyway, that was my
yeah,
question.
I think that's a valid question. I think we previously, I thought there had been this kind of perspective around if it was like a member in good standing and it was something that that had maybe a connection. I thought there was some of the stuff that was sold was like vintage computer related, like some of the items weren't, they had the logos or something on there and whatnot. And so it had a tie. But Grant, do you have perspective on this? Oh, maybe Grant pushed away. I tell you what, why don't
Well, I can throw a perspective for just for consideration for everybody. There are a number of retro and computer shows that do have vendor space available for things that are very tangentially related to whatever the show's topic is. At the Classic Computer Fest in Austin, here in Texas, it's basically if you can make something that somehow might possibly relate to a video game, you're welcome to get a table. You know, that's what they do. So there's all kinds of, somebody draws hand drawn art, good enough, bring it, get it out there, because you're still celebrating the thing. So yeah, I think that there should be room, when there's room, for exhibitors that are not just a vintage computer hardware or software offer, but that can show something along the line, because that opens
if you need
the
a table,
community
you can have one of mine.
What?
I would certainly agree. This is David D. Hey, I just want to add one thing here. Something that is reminding me about something I saw. I think it was, it may have been the last Cocoa Fest or the one before that. I think it was Jim Brain had a relative that had a little miniature arcade setup, like a shoebox or something, and there were a bunch of arcade games in there. And this wasn't for sale, and this isn't really a Coco thing. But when I saw this, it brought me just a lot of joy, because I was like, this is so cool, and it was so detailed, and it was really fun, and I'm really glad it was there. And so I don't want us to like I'm kind of with this other person that was talking about the show in Texas, if it's even remotely related. And I think I came by Linda's table, and I liked some of the stuff I saw there too. So I'm all for it.
Okay. So I know Grant
Yes,
came off
I'm
quote. or
yeah,
off
I'm
of
sorry. I was talking to you, but I was muted. So normally we allow pretty much anything, unless it's like something way out there. Like I think one year, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, we wanted somebody wanted to sell siding
Yep,
at the
we've
Cocoa
had
Fest or something.
we've had siding and the bathtub renewal people call us and want tables. So
Yeah, so
that's
that type of stuff, I think
that's the only
that's how.
concern.
Yeah, but I think Tony's wife sold like craft items and stuff like that. I don't think there's any issues with that type of stuff. So
I would probably say if there's a way to have some of the, I think there was some of your stuff is like earrings or whatever. If they have some portion of it or some nominal amount of it be like the logos or whatever to maybe tie it in directly. The only reason I bring it up is because I struggle sometimes because what happened that last time that it happened is Grant got a call from somebody who wanted to sell siding um, at the show, or maybe Tony, it was you that got that. And then ultimately it got to me, like, what are we going to do about this? And I'm like, oh, come on, this is you don't go to a Coco show to buy siding or new tile for your bathroom. Um, but I was afraid that if they came to the show and they pointed at one of the like the if they, it was earrings or knitted caps or something, like they would say, well, that's not Coco related either, and you let them come, so why wouldn't you? And then it would just be this big, I don't know if it would be a legal thing, but it would just be this big, he said, she said, Facebook post, blah, blah, blah. And so I was thinking to guard against that, if we could say, at least needs to be some nominal connection to vintage computing to be there, then I can't imagine somebody's going to show up with tandy colored vinyl siding. And so I think
Well, if someone did, I'd be
well,
tempted.
and you're right. If somebody was like, we're going to do
I was
red,
just gonna
green,
say, if
blue,
somebody did, they're probably going to buy it.
yeah, that's
So-
true. And I actually would be, yes, okay with that. But since I don't think most of the vinyl siding vendors would go down that path, I think we'd be relatively, it would make a bright line that we wouldn't have to worry so much about. So that would be my encouragement. I don't want to keep, like Grant, you said, I don't want to keep somebody from having a vendor table. Kind of a close-knit community of people here, having folks that are maybe a little bit farther afield, but I do want to have a way that I can shut down, because it ends up falling to me to call up the people because I'm the president.
Jim?
So
You don't think you can talk to them and tell them, these guys are here because they like old computers. They really aren't going to buy vinyl siding from you. You'll be wasting your time and money. You don't think that will work?
in the past it hasn't, but I'm sorry, Alan.
I stand corrected.
In the table stuff too is that when someone goes to research, you reserve the right to refuse service at any time for any reason or no reason at all. That's your lawyer legalese, and that's what that kind of stuff is for.
Fair enough.
A family member of the club wants to do crafts. No one's going to argue with that. J Random, nobody wants to sell siding. Yeah, there's a whole other convention center down the road, or go to the mall and fight with the Verizon guy. It's not here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there should be just a very easy way to say, look, if it makes sense, great. If not, we can still say no just because we want to.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, and we do have that. We do have that in the contract too. That we can always refuse.
So I think the answer is, yeah, bring your stuff and buy a table. Should be good. I'll admit I used to be harder for me to draw a bright line because my daughter would come and sell cookies, and I don't. She did put the little
They were
Tandy
good
logo
cookies, too.
on. She did put the Tandy logo on some of the cookies, but that was pretty weak. So so I don't want to push that narrative too much.
we definitely need people there to feed treats to the membership.
Well, there you go. That should help out the answering the question. David?
How would you, can you just make a big, if there's space available at the end, they can, I mean, if you've got unsold tables, still income, might as well go ahead and sell it to them at that point.
Suppose. David? You have your hand up? Oh, you're just thumbs upping. Sorry.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
trying to get the thumbs up to turn off. It won't turn off.
It's okay.
Just hanging out there.
I'm happy with you too. There we go. Any other items? All right, we ran a little late tonight. I apologize for that. Try to get these done in about an hour, but appreciate the conversation. A little bit cool, interesting topics. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining. And I'm going to entertain a motion for closing the meeting.
Make a motion.
There we go. Richard's helping
I'll
me out
second.
here. Greg is second, and he got in before Grant. So all those in favor?
Aye.
There we go. Any opposed? Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. And please let folks know about our end of the month item, our virtual fest. So see if we can get some traction there. Talk to y'all later.
Arrivederci.